Your body flips a hidden switch at hour 12, and that's just the beginning. I'm going to walk you through exactly what happens to your organs during a 72-hour fast, hour by hour, from your liver burning through its last sugar reserves, to your brain running on an entirely different fuel source. And no, you don't need to be a biohacker or fasting expert to understand this. By the end of this video, you'll know precisely what's happening, and why hour 48 might be the most important one of all. Hey, I'm Emma. A few years ago, I was exhausted all the time, constantly bloated, and completely dependent on eating every 3 hours just to function. I tried every diet, every supplement, every metabolism-boosting trick out there, and nothing changed. Then I stumbled across the research on extended fasting, and honestly, it changed everything. Today, my energy is through the roof, my digestion has never been better, and I finally feel in control of my body. There's a ton of fear and misinformation out there about fasting, so on this channel, I break down the actual science. Over the next few minutes, we're going to follow your body through a 72-hour fast. We'll break it into 4 simple stages. You'll see how your liver changes fuel sources, what happens to your brain and muscles, and why some claims need caution. And stay with me until the end, because finishing a long fast incorrectly may be riskier than the fast itself. Quick note before we get into it, this is education, not medical advice. Fasting isn't for everyone, so run this by your doctor first. With that said, let's start the clock. Stage 1, 0 to 12 hours, using your last meal. During the first several hours, your body doesn't realize that you're attempting a 3-day fast. As far as your organs are concerned, it's business as usual. Your stomach and intestines are still digesting your last meal, breaking carbohydrates into glucose, proteins into amino acids, and fats into fatty acids. Those nutrients enter your bloodstream, and your pancreas releases insulin. Think of insulin as a traffic controller. It helps direct glucose into your cells. Some of that glucose is stored in your liver and muscles as glycogen. Your liver's glycogen acts like a backup battery. And your muscle glycogen? That is mostly reserved for the muscles themselves, especially when you move or exercise. So, are you burning body fat yet? Technically, your body is always using a mixture of fuels. But during these early hours, energy from your recent meal is still doing much of the work. Insulin remains high enough to limit fat release. As more time passes, insulin gradually falls, and your liver begins releasing glucose from its glycogen supply. This is why the first 12 hours usually don't represent a dramatic transformation. For many people, much of this stage simply happens overnight. However, the size and composition of your last meal matter. A large carbohydrate meal keeps insulin elevated longer, while physical activity may use stored glycogen more quickly. This is one reason no fasting timeline applies perfectly to everyone. By approximately the 12-hour mark, the easy energy from your last meal is fading. That is when the real fuel transition begins. Stage 2, 12 to 24 hours, the liver changes strategy. Now your pancreas is producing less insulin. Your body receives a new message. Stop storing energy and start releasing it. Your liver continues breaking down glycogen. At the same time, fat cells begin releasing more fatty acids into your bloodstream. Most organs can use these directly. But your brain cannot rely on fatty acids in the same way. That creates a problem. Your brain still needs a steady supply of energy. So your liver begins converting some of that fat into molecules called ketone bodies. Think of them as an alternative fuel. Ketone production doesn't suddenly begin at one exact hour. It gradually increases as insulin falls and liver glycogen declines. During this transition, you may feel hungry, tired, irritable, lightheaded, or distracted. Your stomach might growl. But hunger often arrives in waves. The hormone ghrelin tends to rise around your normal meal times and then fall again. Have you ever skipped lunch, felt extremely hungry, and then noticed the hunger disappear an hour later? That's one reason why. Meanwhile, your liver is taking on several jobs at once. It's releasing glucose, manufacturing new glucose, and increasing ketones. This creation of new glucose is called gluconeogenesis. It helps supply tissues such as red blood cells, which cannot run on ketones. By the end of the first day, ketones may be noticeably higher, but you're not necessarily in deep ketosis. That depends on the individual. And what about the weight loss? Much of the early drop on the scale isn't pure body fat. Glycogen is stored with water. That means the rapid weight loss at the beginning is partly water loss, not several pounds of fat disappearing overnight. But as the first 24 hours come to an end, fat is playing a much larger role. And now the changes start happening deeper inside. Stage 3, 24 to 48 hours, deeper ketosis and cellular recycling. Welcome to day 2. Your liver's glycogen is substantially reduced. Your liver turns more fatty acids into ketones, and your brain begins using a greater proportion of them for energy. Some people report that this is when their hunger becomes quieter and their thinking feels clearer, but that experience is not universal. Others may develop headaches, weakness, or trouble sleeping, especially if they're dehydrated or low on electrolytes. So no, feeling terrible during a fast is not proof that toxins are leaving your body. It could be a warning sign. Now let's discuss one of the biggest reasons people attempt longer fasts: autophagy. Autophagy means self-eating. It's a normal cellular recycling process used to break down damaged proteins. Imagine a repair team entering a factory. When nutrients are plentiful, cells favor growth. When nutrients are scarce, the balance shifts toward maintenance and recycling. Here is where social media often gets ahead of the science. We cannot say that autophagy suddenly switches on at exactly 24 hours. Autophagy already operates at a baseline level, and directly measuring it throughout the entire human body is extremely difficult. The cellular cleanup story is biologically plausible, but your body does not display an autophagy complete notification at hour 36. What about the immune system? During prolonged fasting, nutrient-sensing signals and circulating immune cells can change. An influential study found that fasting promoted stem cell activity, but many findings came from mice or people receiving chemotherapy. That is very different from proving that one 72-hour fast completely resets the immune system of every healthy adult. By the end of hour 48, your metabolism is relying heavily on stored fat. But the next stage introduces a surprising hormonal response. Stage 4, 48 to 72 hours. Growth hormone, muscle, and stem cells. By day 3, your body is fully aware food isn't arriving. Insulin and glucose are lower, ketones are higher, and counter-regulatory hormones like human growth hormone rise considerably. Why would your body do that? Because during food scarcity, destroying your ability to move would be a terrible survival strategy. Growth hormone helps mobilize fat and may reduce the rate at which lean tissue is broken down. Ketones also help preserve protein. But this does not mean a 72-hour fast builds new muscle while you sit still. Growth hormone and muscle growth are not the same thing. Building muscle requires resistance training, energy, and amino acids. During a fast, HGH plays a protective and fuel-regulating role. And some protein breakdown still occurs. Your body continues making glucose, and some raw material comes from amino acids. What about stem cells? Research suggests fasting can alter signals like IGF-1, but the strongest findings are still in animal models. And there is no magical alarm at exactly 72 hours. Your metabolism changes continuously. Hour 71 and 72 are not different universes. By the end of 3 days, however, your body has made a major shift from recently eaten food to relying on stored fat and ketones. That is an impressive adaptation, but impressive does not automatically mean safe for everyone. Who should not attempt this? A 3-day fast is not simply a longer version of skipping breakfast. It changes glucose, blood pressure, hydration, and electrolytes. Children and adolescents should not attempt this. The same applies to anyone who is pregnant, underweight, or has an eating disorder. People with type 1 diabetes or anyone using insulin should never improvise a prolonged fast. It can cause severe hypoglycemia or ketoacidosis. You also need medical guidance if you have kidney, liver, or heart conditions, or if you take medication that must be with food. And don't assume adding large amounts of salt to water makes it safe. Too much can be dangerous, especially for kidneys. If someone develops fainting, confusion, or chest pain, that isn't a challenge to push through. The fast needs to end immediately. Even published safety studies were conducted under medical supervision, not as an unsupervised social media challenge. Now we've reached the part most people overlook. You might imagine celebrating with the biggest meal you can find. That can be a serious mistake. Your digestive system has had very little work to do for 3 days, and your metabolism is adapted to fat-based fuel. Suddenly consuming an enormous carbohydrate meal can cause a rapid rise in insulin and dangerous electrolyte shifts. In high-risk people, this can cause refeeding syndrome, a dangerous shift that can affect the heart, lungs, and nervous system. A well-nourished person is generally at lower risk, but overeating is still a bad idea. The safer principle is simple: restart gradually. Begin with a modest, easy-to-tolerate meal. Eat slowly, wait for your body to respond, and avoid huge quantities of sugar or alcohol. There is no universal rule saying you must break with bone broth. The choice depends on your health and digestive tolerance. So, what happens to your organs during a 72-hour fast? Let's recap the metabolic journey we just took. During the first 12 hours, your digestive system processes your final meal, while your liver manages remaining glucose. Between 12 and 24 hours, insulin falls, liver glycogen declines, fat release increases, and ketone production begins rising. From 24 to 48 hours, your body depends more heavily on stored fat while cellular recycling pathways begin shifting. And between 48 and 72 hours, ketones become a major fuel, growth hormone secretion can increase, and your body adapts to maintain glucose. But a 3-day fast is not a magical cure or guaranteed immune reset. It is a powerful physiological stress. Whether that stress is helpful or harmful depends on the person and how it's managed. Always prioritize safety first. Your body is doing things every second that most people never hear about. Subscribe, and let's uncover what's really happening, one video at a time.